59% of everybody who answered said that they are not confident or really just have no idea what they're doing. What was really startling was only 7% said, oh yeah, I'm pretty confident in what I'm doing. That means out of 10, 6, 7 people were like, I'm just kind of out here spending my money basically, right? So what I want us to remember, let's review what we went over last time. I want us to remember that as we are doing this with God, he will give us the wisdom. So we'll start with our vision. In that vision, this is something somebody asked me later. For me, I have to do the vision first, then assess the landscape. I can't look at my numbers and see what I have coming in and out and then do my vision, because for me, it then gets biased and tainted by what I know or what I see. So my faith eyes, I have to not see the numbers to see what God is trying to show me. So if that helps, maybe you want to start with your vision first and then go through and assess the landscape, know the state of your flock, see what money you have coming in and out, do your budget, those sorts of things. Also, somebody asked about faith with the foundation. The foundation is what you do not want to move. The foundation is what's going to keep you so you're not tossed about in every wind of doctrine. I gave the example of, and they might have missed this one, I gave the example of a good investment that might come up, but doesn't necessarily fit your portfolio. Then we talked about framing, where you have the word, and that'll keep your house standing upright, basically. Then the roof, the wisdom, and that wisdom will let you know, give you discernment of what to do with the knowledge that you have. And then we talked about decor, which is the Rhema word. That is your word from the Holy Spirit telling you what to do with your specific situation, with your specific finances, and what Holy Spirit knows is coming down the pipeline. So that's what we talked about last week. And there was one other thing I wanted to bring up, and we can go to the next one. So what I wanted to discuss was, last time we talked about the 5, 2, and 1, the 62.5%, the 25, and the, I think was it 18%, right. What I talked about was making sure your Rhema word, you talk to Holy Spirit to get what it is for you. Because for somebody, that might be conservative risk, medium risk, high risk, or some mix. For me, this is an example of how Holy Spirit gave me. Right now, I actually see mine as near term, medium term, long term. That's how my 5, 2, and 1 are broken up. So this is why it's really important to see how yours needs to be broken up for you and what you're looking at. So I gave my 5 that are near term. That's my W-2 income. For me, that's like 401k, HSAs, RSUs, company stock. All of that for me is W-2. Residential real estate, restaurant, my book, I have some stock. All of that for me is near term. I use that to pay my now bills. Then I look at, okay, well, what am I going to need to do in the next 18 to 36 months, a bit midterm? For me, that's my consulting stuff, that's cryptocurrencies. And then, in my current situation, the only thing I have for a future is my giving. Now, let's be clear that as Christians, that's not an only. That's actually an advantage for us. That if we sow into the kingdom, if we seek first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, all these things will be added to us. So I don't want us, when we're making our numbers, let us not neglect, don't neglect putting giving on there. When we sow into the kingdom, when we sow into God's people, when we do our sowing, we will reap just like an investment. So I wanted to show that so that we're clear. And then remember earlier I talked about the vision. My vision for the future is actually my near term only being that one thing instead of 5. The stuff that pays my bills now, gets my hair done, all that stuff, I want that to be like the consulting, speaking books, my books or books, right? The medium term, foreign exchange, cryptocurrencies, NFT, I think we're in Web 4 now, like, whatever that equivalent is, AI, metaverse. For me, that's my medium term. And long term, the stuff that I want to pass down to my kids and my children's children, for that's my real estate. And notice I took off the residential because I want some commercial too, right? And I want some land and some farmland, stuff like that. Precious metals, gold, silver. For me, that's what I want to be my FAR. I want 5 to be my FAR. So I think don't be stuck on what I said about conservative, medium, high risk. and don't, okay, well, that should be my 5, 2, and 1. Truly seek Holy Spirit to see what is your decor, what's your rhema word, so that it'll go for you. Notice I didn't put any numbers, I didn't put anything specific, but I wanted to give you a sense of how it can be different for you and what your investment portfolio is. Next slides, please. So I want us to do another Minty. And the reason I wanted to do this is to set our mindset. We can go to Minty.com, or you can pull up the screen so we can do a QR code if we can do that. But go to Minty.com, and then I'm going to do this with us so we can see my results too. And then you type in 7844-6822. Minty.com, 7844-6822. This is completely anonymous. You don't have to sign in. You don't have to log in. None of those things. All you have to do once you go in is put in that code, and it'll take you right to this question. Yep, MENTI, and that code is 7844. Oh, or you can scan the QR code. It's behind me, yeah. Or you can scan the QR code 7844-6822. And again, this is completely anonymous. Just put your true thoughts on when you think about finances, or how you feel when you hear the word finances. Just 3 words, what comes to mind? Oh, see, and I love word clouds because it comes up. And we can see, oh, somebody said scary, confusing, stability. That's good. Finances can help you have stability. Overwhelming. Please, I want some more. Finances, you think about stuff you need to do now. More worried, your legacy. Pressure, oh, that's a good one. Unprepared, a gateway, I like that. Currency, vague, that can be very, money is fleeting, whoo, you better store it up in heaven. That's true. Legacy, legacy is coming up a couple of times. So what this does is as it sees some of the same words, it makes it bigger. So a lot of people are thinking about legacy, future unprepared. So let's move on, but the reason I wanted to bring this up is because something that Holy Spirit revealed to me through a couple of conversations I had afterwards, people would ask things like, okay, you're going to talk about cryptocurrencies, but how I don't know anything about that. It's so confusing. Or what about this with those finances? Or what about that? And what I want us to make sure we do is understand that we will get the wisdom we need. If you don't have the money, he will give us the money. He will give seed to the sower. If you don't know what the learning is, and somebody asked me about this in the foyer, so I didn't get to give it to Faces, but Proverbs 9 and 9 says, give instruction to a wise man, and he will be yet wiser. Teach a just man, other translations say a righteous man, and he will increase in learning. So understand that as we are the righteousness of God in Christ, as we are just, the just shall live by faith, we will increase in learning when we're being taught. That's a will, right? This is declarative. So understand we can learn these things. And these thoughts and these seeds of, I think I'm too old, or I might as well just ride it out, or this cryptocurrency stuff is confusing, this finances stuff is confusing, I'm never going to have any money. These thoughts, we have to kill them. We have to kill them. And I use the term kill for a reason. This image here is what a tree looks like when the roots start sprouting, right? And when we bury these thoughts that we don't kill, they're like living things. And when living things are buried, they become seeds. And these seeds will sprout up and kill us later. They will destroy whatever portfolio house we're trying to build. And we see it with rich people, right? They have money and they commit suicide, or they're depressed, or the money won't solve a seed root issue that's going to cause a crack in our foundation. So I want us to be clear before we go forward, because I know cryptocurrency can be confusing. I know it can be a lot to understand. I want us to have faith, have that strong foundation that we will learn this stuff. Even if it's not cryptocurrency, whatever, because remember, this is do your own research. So I'm not really teaching cryptocurrencies. I'm more teaching how to research cryptocurrencies. So how can you learn this stuff? It's a little bit of a nuance. So I want us to be confident that whatever it is for investment portfolio, remember, I have multiple things on there besides just cryptocurrencies. There are so many things you can invest in. There are so many things. Other people's businesses, People have hair businesses, lash businesses, restaurants, whatever you know, you can invest in that, but you need to know that you can learn it, okay? And whatever those thoughts are, we gotta kill it. We have to kill, do not bury it, do not think that, okay, I'm not gonna ask the question in here because I don't wanna look a certain way, I'm gonna keep it inside. Okay, don't let the seed sprout. And then the last thing about the questions was when we think about these sessions, okay, don't think of it as, oh, I'm at Bible study learning about finances. Think of it as somebody paid $2,000, because that's how much these cost. Somebody paid $2,000 for a 4-week course for me to learn how to invest. Okay? And normally when you pay your money, you're going to ask all the questions. You're going to get to know the people. You're going to be in the front row center. You're going to be on time. You're going to want the recording so you can go back. You're going to take notes. If that helps you to go and not be scared to ask questions, treat it like this is an investment course that you're taking for 4 weeks, because that's how I treat it when I go out and I teach and they pay me and I charge. But this is me sewing, and I want you to treat it as this is an investment course. I'm going to ask all the questions so I can get the help I need. Okay? So let's talk about cryptocurrencies. One thing we have to realize is what is fiat, or what is the traditional currency? Like, where are we now? The traditional fiat currency, you might hear fiat, you might hear traditional, you might hear money, whatever, it's the same thing. It's the currency that's declared by the government to be legal tender, but it's not backed by physical commodities. We know that, right? We're not on the gold standard, we're not on the silver standard, any of those things. It's just backed by the trust and faith in whatever government has released the currency. We have the dollar that's centralized with the Fed, the Federal Reserve, the Euro, the European Central Bank, et cetera. The key characteristics here are centralized control, physical form, and it's subject to inflation. I don't have to explain that anymore because we all go to the grocery store, subject to inflation. Next slide. So what is crypto? Cryptocurrency is stored digitally, and it is used just like money in the sense that if you have 100 of whatever that cryptocurrency is and you spend one, now you have 99. Like, it's just like we go on our SunTrust, Bank of America online and we see our account, even if we haven't physically touched the money, it's similar in that way. And I have three examples up there. Bitcoin, we hear about that one a lot. Ethereum, Solana. These are just examples. I'm not saying invest in these. I'm not saying I invest in these or I don't. I'm just giving examples. And characteristics of Bitcoin that are, of crypto that is important here is that they operate on decentralized networks based off of blockchain technology. Okay, so what is blockchain? Because I said, okay, cryptocurrency works off of blockchain. What is that? Blockchain is a decentralized, we're going to get to decentralized in a second, and distributed ledger or database that records transactions across a network of computers. We are going to try to have this available to you, so y'all not trying to take a whole bunch of pictures, but I do want you to take a picture and listen. Don't try to write down everything, because some of these slides will be very wordy, because there are a lot of terms on here. What I want us to remember about blockchain is that it provides a secure and transparent way to record transactions. Let's start there. Let's think about the name blockchain. It is literally a block that has a record of transactions chained to the next block, which has a record of transactions chained to the next block. So if it helps you, it is literally a block and chain, a block and chain. That's where the name blockchain comes from. And why those characteristics are important, remember with fiat, it's centralized. So you have the Federal Reserve deciding how much money they're going to put out. But blockchain is decentralized. That means there are thousands. I mean, it's probably hundreds of thousands, maybe 1 million computers that run the blockchain. Nobody can say in this country or that country. It is completely decentralized. The next thing is, like I said, each block contains a list of transactions, and they are linked through cryptographic hashes. That's not even important right now. Just know that they are linked to each other through a secure mathematical formula. So let's talk about decentralization. I mentioned this before. It's like spreading out the power, spreading out the control across many computers instead of having one person or group in charge, which is what we see now with traditional currencies. This makes it hard for anyone to control or stop, and it makes it more secure for everyone and fair. This is really important for our community. Secure, fair, accessible. This is where blockchain and cryptocurrencies are important for underprivileged or underserved or those countries that don't have traditional banking systems the way we have. They now have access to certain currencies and monies in a different way because blockchain is accessible. Then next we have immutability. Immutable, which we heard about it about God, right? God is immutable, God does not change. That's what they're saying about blockchain. You can't go through and change it. Once it's put on there, it's there. That's what makes it so secure and fair and trustworthy and reliable. Next one. So transparency. The other benefit of blockchain is that it's transparent. Anybody, one of us can right now go on our phone and look at the blockchain and see what transactions just occurred. It is completely transparent. That's another thing that ensures the fairness. And then the last one is the anonymity. While it's transparent, it's also anonymous. So I can look and see what everybody did, but I can't see who everybody is. Does that make sense? So I can see, oh, well, there was 1,000 Bitcoin went this way, one went that. Like, I can see those things, but I can't see who did it. So that's the other benefit, that while I might have money and pay taxes so they can see and know where all my stuff went, or I swipe a card and there's a whole record of all my grocery store and food transactions, it's not the same with the blockchain. I can see those, but somebody else can't. So let's talk about the differences and advantages. And I kind of spoke about this as I spoke, but the big thing I really want our community to get is the financial inclusion. They empower us on our phone, but worldwide. They empower us by providing access to financial services without traditional banking infrastructure. Okay, the next thing, borderless. So if you are here and somebody in Brazil is like, hey, can you send me some money? That, for fiat, that's a whole big thing, because you gotta change the currency, then you gotta try to find some place that's open, and if you try to send a wire, you gotta do it by 4 p.m., and then there's a fee, and it might be, all these things with traditional, you can do it in seconds with the blockchain. So you got a Coinbase account? I have a Coinbase account. Let me send, what's your thing? I can send it to you right now. And they're in Brazil. That's an example, but that's the borderless part. And that's why it's so transformational. And then the next is security and transparency, which I kind of teased just earlier. You have enhanced security and transparency, mitigating risk associated with fraud and corruption. This is that third party risk, where if think about buying a house. You're buying a house and they're like, oh, well, provide these documents and these documents and these. You don't have to do all that with blockchain. It's already verified. You don't have to, that counterparty risk of the bank not knowing if I'm lying or if I'm not knowing, all these things. Blockchain gets you around the counterparty risk by saying, if the money's there, it's there. Like, that's it. So that's the benefit of blockchain. Any questions? Okay, so this won't be about blockchain. This is going to be about cryptocurrencies, but you have to understand the reason cryptocurrencies are important is because of blockchain. So when I evaluate cryptocurrencies, this is my mental model. I call it the 3M model. These are the 3 things I try to think about, because remember, the focus is how to do your own research into cryptocurrencies. You can start with the macro view. You can start with either one. This is just the order I go in, because I like to look at the high level. What is it? Where is it from? Who made it? That kind of high level macro view. Then you can go into the market cap or the market capitalization. That's the economics of it, which is, am I going to get this money? How much money I'm going to get? Those sorts of things. And then there's a third one that's extremely important, but it's a little bit intangible, and that's momentum. Are people talking about this, and what are they saying? Is this a positive thing? Is this a negative thing? What people have noticed, and you think like meme coins, right? Dogecoin, all those things. What we've noticed is that when a lot of people are talking about a coin, lay people tend to buy it, and the price goes up. So if there's a lot of momentum, typically positively, that's something you want to watch for as well. So what are users saying? What are people saying? So let's talk about how we do those things. Any questions about that 3-part strategy? Okay, so remember, the righteous and just, when they are taught, they will learn. We will learn, okay? And I had to keep this, because when those thoughts came that, Lord, this is confusing, I don't understand, and I said before, kill it, I had to kill it with these thoughts. Pastor talked about the peace of God and how these thoughts come up. He talked about that just Sunday. You have to kill those things, and the peace of God will come and keep that thing silent, and you'll have the scripture to keep you focused. So with the white papers, remember, I start with macro. The macro view, first thing you want to do is grab the white paper. Any crypto worth its salt has a white paper. If you don't have a white paper, don't even worry about it. Don't even waste your time. It's a scam, okay? So go to the white paper. A white paper is a document released by the cryptocurrency project that outlines the technology, purpose, and vision. Think about a business. You look at the About Me section, right? What is it doing? What is it trying to do? What's their vision? What's their mission statement? That's the white paper. Who's on the board of directors? All that kind of thing, that's in the white paper. So this, I try to break it down into action steps. What am I supposed to do with a white paper? Here's what you do with a white paper. You locate it and you read it. I know. Did you have a question? Come on now. I'm taking questions throughout. You don't have to wait for me to stop and say if it's in the questions. And while she's coming up, I'm going to finish the slide. Locate it and you read it. What are you reading for? What are you looking for? You want to see what are the goals and what is the problem that they're trying to solve. Those are the main things you want to check in the white paper.
Hello.
Hey.
I'm Francis, and you said locate and read. So how do you locate?
Mm-hmm.
Is it you let's say Bitcoin or whatever it may be. Whatever it may be. There's white paper out here. You just pull it up and you should be able, it should be some.
Like a PDF, like a,
yes. Yes.
They want your money.
Okay.
If and who is they? The people who created whatever cryptocurrency you're looking up, or whatever token, we'll talk about it in a second, whatever token you're looking up. So you go to their website, let's say Bitcoin.
Okay.
You type in Bitcoin white paper. Whatever the name, Ethereum white paper, Solana white paper, Cardano white paper, like whatever it is, thousands of cryptocurrencies. You type it in, Google search, and then put white paper.
Okay.
These should be easily, readily available. If you have to search and dig and go on to the next.
Okay, good.
Okay.
That's what thank you.
And these slides will be available on the website, and Nite is going to show us how to download it at the end. So now you don't even have to take pictures, just sit and listen and observe, and absorb and observe. So yes, the white paper should be easily found and readable. Now, some of them, especially the older cryptocurrencies, are very technical, and it might take you 15, 20 times to read it. It's okay. If you don't want to do all that, that's fine. What you want to focus on, we'll go to the next slide. What you want to focus on is the problem that the project aims to solve. So in the white paper, you'll typically see an abstract. That's the summary of the project. If you don't want to read it all, at least read the abstract. This is like, think research papers. What's the summary? What's the intro? What is this about? If you're trying to skim it through. What's the problem statement? Again, what are they trying to solve? Because you have to think, is this even a problem that needs to be solved that means like I should put my money in this because this is going somewhere? You need to know what are they trying to do here, right? And then a solution. How does the project plan to solve this problem? And here's the thing, even if a lot of these things don't make sense to you and you have to read it a couple times, which is perfectly fine, we all do, the information should be there. That's the important part. Is this information there, and does this make some sort of sense? Even if you don't understand the technical ins and outs, does it make some level of sense? Because a lot of times these white papers are very fluffy, and that's how you can notice that it's a scam. Like there's nothing to it. Okay, the problem you're trying to solve is X. Okay, well how does this cryptocurrency solve that? And you can't figure that out. Move on to the next. So remember, the purpose is, I'm not trying to teach you, but how to research these things. So you start with the white paper. Does it even make sense? Is it flowing? Technical details. As you read more of these, they'll start making sense. Some of the newer ones have like light papers or like more GitHub-focused papers for the non-technical investor. So you can read those as well. But you still want to make sure that there's a more technical paper there. Just just to be sure that this is not a scam, because there are so many cryptocurrency scams. So we want to make sure that as you read these things, that it's lining up. And then the team, this is very important, the information about the project's owners and the creators and the developers, because it's not going to create itself out of thin air. Somebody has to develop it, and the good thing about the blockchain is a lot of it is open source. That means anybody can develop on it. That's the benefit of it. So you can crowdsource good ideas, you can get the best ideas out there, right? But if the team of developers, it's not necessarily that you might have never heard of them, but you can't find anything about them. But that comes up next. And then the roadmap. What is the plan and milestones? Okay, well, we're going to go public in Q1, and then we're going to drop another million in Q3. This has to be laid out very clearly what their milestones are. Good.
What type of people, individuals, would use or benefit from cryptocurrency?
All. I say that with sincerity. So one of the things I mentioned before is accessible to people without, let me be a little bit more specific. I was sincere, really everybody can benefit from cryptocurrency, but the people would really be those who are underserved by traditional banking opportunities, because you can get what you need via cryptocurrency. Those are the people who stand to benefit the most. So when I say borderless, it's a little bit difficult to notice it ourselves here in the U.S. because it's a bank on like every other corner. But in most countries, it's not like that. In other countries, they can stop you getting your money out the bank. Like they can literally say, stay in your home, and there's a militia keeping you in your house. So when I say people underserved by traditional banking communities, that's typically who benefits the most.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So you said we have a project
Mm-hmm.
that's connected to the cryptocurrency.
Mm-hmm.
So like any other business that looks for investors, is that kind of what we're doing here? The crypto is the investor, you're investing in.
We're
Yeah.
the investor
Yeah.
investing into the crypto, yes.
Okay. All right.
So what we want to see, there are thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of cryptocurrencies and different tokens. Which one should you invest in? You got to do your research. But hence why we're here. You got to do your research. Well, what is that? That's what I want to help you do. Which one do you invest in? Okay, I heard about cryptocurrency A, B, and C. Is it going to go up or go down? I mean, I don't know. That's Holy Spirit. But do you need to invest in it? Is it real? Is it going to go away? Those sorts of things. That's what we're going to try to discuss tonight, and it might have to be next week too, but definitely tonight. So what I mentioned before in the white paper was you want to talk about the development team, right? Who is actually creating the token? And I'm switching to token for a reason. You'll see in a minute. Who's creating this token? What is it doing? Who's creating the whole ecosystem? When I say ecosystem, think to what Cheryl just mentioned. Think about a business, how it works, how it runs, who gets paid when, who has to do what. There's an ecosystem there. This needs to be created by a team. So the expertise and reputation of this team is extremely important, because you can have a vision, and without this team, it's not going to come to pass. So how do you find information about this team? Because you see a name. Most of these names, let's be honest, we ain't gonna know who these people are, and that's okay. We need to research them though. So you want to look up their background, their experience, and any credentials they have. Key team members, it'll say something like a developer or like a system architect, something like that. You want to look those up, those key team members up, and then you check for a well-documented and transparent history. She asked before, well, how do I find it? It should be easily found. Anybody, think about it. If I want your money, I'm going to make it as easy as possible for you to give me your money. You're going to find out who I am. I'm going to say, oh, look on my LinkedIn or something like, well, that's actually a way to do it. Look on people's LinkedIn, And you're going to see where I've worked, what I've done, where I studied, all these other things. You're going to see if we have any mutual connections. You're going to see pages that I'm interested in, because I want you to trust whatever it is I'm doing. So you look for, like I said, transparent, well-documented history. You checked for the project's official website. You check, like I said, their LinkedIn profile. You check any crypto forums. And there are so many of them. Just type in crypto forum, and several will pop up. And you just kind of read, like, search. Is that person's name coming up? Is that person's name coming up a lot? That might be a good thing, right? So you search these. That's how you search for a development team. So these are just a few steps to get you started. Again, I'm teaching you how to research this stuff. So it might be boring, but definitely ask questions. So the roadmap, remember I mentioned we want those milestones. We want to know what's happening and when, and they should have a roadmap. Like, if you want my money, what you finna do with it and when, right? So that roadmap outlines the project's planned milestones and development timeline. You want to review it to know what have they done, to see did they even hit those milestones that they said they were going to do, and what are they going to do in the future? Because you might be in on the beginning, so there's no past, but you should at least see the future. And then what you want to think about is does this sound feasible? Meaning, they say, oh, well, we're going to start airdropping this tomorrow. Tomorrow? That's where are you getting the list from? Do you have all your investors? Like, those sorts of questions, if there's a question, you should be able to ask. Okay, so where do you get this from? The project's website. As I mentioned before, the white paper is like the holy grail. Everything should go and tie back to the white paper. The white paper is actually like a living document almost. So as things change and evolve, that white paper should be updated but not changed in a sense of the whole project is a completely new direction. It should just be more updates as they find things and as they develop the project a bit more. And then here's a key thing about cryptocurrencies. Social media, Twitter, Discord, all those sorts of chat locations, Reddit? There are so many forums where people are talking about it. You can just be a fly on the wall reading. Oh, this person said this person said that. There are so many places where you can read and see if people have had history with this before, if people are using it, all those sorts of things. You want to look at that to see any project updates or what's going on, what users are seeing. And then the next one. Real-world use cases. And I mentioned this before. When we're looking at what problem are they trying to solve, you really kind of want to think, is this even something that we can use in the real world? And some of the stuff might seem a bit far-fetched, and that's okay. But think again, we talked last week, what is in your portfolio? Do you need something that's coming up in the future that, okay, you're getting in on it because it's 5 cents now, but it's coming up in the future, or you need something that, like Ethereum, they're using now. Let me not even say now. They've been using for years. They are creating apps on Ethereum, and they've been doing this. So you want to know where this cryptocurrency or token is in this milestone. You want to know where it is with real-world use cases, so you can know whether this fits in your portfolio. So where do you find out if it's real-world use cases? Also, you want to look at partnerships, collaborations. Is it working with other cryptocurrencies, other ecosystems? Because a lot of cryptos are on the Ethereum blockchain. So you can invest in Ethereum, and you can invest in cryptocurrencies that use Ethereum, right? So you want to look to see how these things are created, industries or sectors where it might be beneficial. What's that adoption? And what I mean by adoption and penetration, let's think about supply chain. A lot of people really liked blockchain for the supply chain because you can see a transparent history of where things have come from, where things are, where it's at, like what it's doing, if it was deemed here, all those sorts of things. But how penetrated or how many companies in the supply chain industry use it? So you want to look to see, okay, let's use a supply chain cryptocurrency, and it only has 5% of the companies in the industry that use it. That could mean it has a good market for growth, and this could really go far. You could be getting in as an early adopter. Or it could mean that this is just a bad product, and that's why nobody's using it. This is where the research comes in. So you want to see, okay, this is a real world use case. Let's go back to how it's trying to solve the problem. So this is why I said look at the industry that it's in to see is there some way for this to grow. When she asked about who is this for, DeFi, decentralized finance, huge, billions. I think it might even hit trillions soon. Billions of dollars in decentralized finance. Why? Because there are so many underserved communities that do not have the benefit of traditional banking services. So this is why that industry penetration, or how much it is in that industry, or a common industry where it could be used, or a real world use case, this is where those things come in. In the DeFi example, it might be what, 20, 30% penetrated? Like it's not fully, we don't see it everywhere. Even here with most of our banks, right? But we know that it's going big. So that's one of the cases where, okay, the adoption is low, but we know that it's going to grow as people continue to, as development teams continue to work on it and continue to refine the product and make it better. Okay, any questions? That's another, she said, who's the end user of the product? That depends on the cryptocurrency. I mean, you have to, everyone is something different. So that's part of your research. What the problem statement is that the cryptocurrency or token is trying to solve, and what's the solution. So that will determine who is it for, who's the end user, and if it's something that they can even use. And I'm gonna use my dad because I know he ain't gonna see this. So I'm gonna use him as an example. Let's say there's a cryptocurrency or a token geared at a certain elder age group. I'm not going to put a number. I'm just going to say elder. And, oh, well, we're going to have them using this sort of digital technology where they can say, my dad is not. Whatever you think you finna do, I am not investing my money in it because I know my community of elders, and they going to do what they've been doing. Because it has worked for them, and they're going to slide me some cash in their hand like this, and I'm going to say, thank you, auntie, thank you, granddaddy, thank you, what. That's what they do. That's how they do. It's going to take a lot of change management, and I'll hold my money until y'all figure that out. So that's what I mean by when you say end user, knows the product and the solution, the problem and the solution, it is extremely important. Because, and then I could be wrong. I could be all the way wrong, but that's my thoughts. This is why you got to do your own research. My thoughts are, if that was a cryptocurrency that did that, that's not getting my money yet. I need to see this working, and I don't think certain communities. Anywho, the next thing we want to look at is historical performance. Yeah.
So my question is related to being that a lot of banks are going into getting their own coins. How will this change real estate? How will this change how we operate as a nation? What impact will going fully into cryptocurrency have on our nation?
That's a loaded question. And I will only tell my thoughts on this. So if we think about the banking industry and we think about other industries that rely a lot on money or fast money or loans or something like that, I think the first thing is they're already gearing us towards digital, right? Like before we would go to our job and pick up a check. I know I look young, but I used to go to my job and pick up a check, right? When I worked at Kroger. Then we got direct deposit. Now, I don't know if this happened with y'all, but this happened with me. I was supposed to get paid Friday. I got paid today, and it's Wednesday. So they are getting us used to mobile. They're getting us used to digital. They're getting us used to not actually seeing real money. Y'all remember in COVID, during the pandemic, y'all don't know how the sensors work. During the pandemic, nobody had coins. Like you couldn't find coins, you couldn't find cash, all these problems. They're getting us towards digital currencies, period. Like this, it's already happening, slowly but surely. This goes back to that penetration, that adoption. How many people are using it? How many more can you see it going towards? Now, when we think about, so with that foundation, that context, when I think about things like real estate, and this is going to come in a second, there are different, actually, let's do it now. The next slide is on tokens. There are different types of cryptocurrencies. A token is a unit of value issued by a project or organization. So I'm gonna get to the rest of your questions. So she's asking, y'all, don't let me forget. She's asking about what's gonna happen to the rest of the world as we adopt more into cryptocurrencies. So a token is a unit issued by a project or organization on a blockchain. So when we say cryptocurrencies, the mega word or the macro word is token. A cryptocurrency is a type of token. And there are multiple types of tokens. And when we think about tokens, so it could be a cryptocurrency, it could be, we're gonna come up to that real estate one in a second. When they have cryptocurrencies, they have to mine the crypto. And I'm gonna skip past that. But just know that they have to mine it. We're gonna skip past that because I know that we're going, I feel the room shift when I said mine. What's important about the mining is this, they're really just solving math problems to put more blocks on the chain. That's the short, high-level answer. They're solving mathematical problems to put the blocks on the chain. Remember, the blocks keep the transaction. How do those blocks get there? Somebody has to solve the problem to put the block, and then they change it to the next block. That's how that works. Somebody, these are developers. No, when I say literally somebody. I could pick up a computer. Joe Jane can pick up a computer and become a miner. This is why, I don't know if y'all remember, I don't know, was this during the pandemic? They started talking about all the electricity that blockchain and Bitcoin was taken by all these miners and stuff. And this is why, because somebody has to use the electricity to mine and solve these, the CPU usage to solve these mathematical problems. So that's how they add more blocks to the chain. A smart contract, that's a real world use case. This is to that real estate point. You can make contracts on blockchain because it's immutable, it is verifiable, and it's trusted. This goes back to those key terms we went over earlier. You can make a contract and have trust that this is going to work without the third-party counter risk because it's on the blockchain. And you're like, well, how do they do that? When I say I will do A at 10 p.m., then at 10 p.m., A will happen on the blockchain. Like it is, think of it like computer programming, it is set. So this is why smart contracts, to her point before about real estate and how it's gonna change, you have ways where you can verify identity, you have ways that you can verify income, you have ways that, you'll probably hear this a lot later, especially as we talk about AI. Identity verification is extremely important. Are you a human or are you a robot? Like this will become extremely important soon. And now I don't want to get dystopian, but it is important to have a digital identity. So that's what blockchain helps us do. It helps you verify that you are a person, you have X amount in your wallet, you are doing ABC transactions. It does all that, and it keeps you anonymous, and it does it transparently. So this is just, and it does it in seconds. Like, when you buy a house, I don't know if anybody ever did that, that takes some time. It won't have to be that same way in blockchain.
We have a question from online.
Jennifer Davis Winston asks, with the possibility of EMI, electromagnetic interferences, causing a digital shutdown, how can currency be protected in a digital world?
So one of the benefits, so what she's asking about, if you have a problem here with the electricity, how is it going to be safe? This is the benefit of decentralization, that there's not a central place. It's not like, oh, there's this big computer mainframe in Houston that has the whole history of all the blockchain. No, every single computer concurrently at the same time has all the history. So unless it goes out across the whole entire world, then, of course, at that point, we got bigger problems. So the benefit of decentralization is that me here, somebody in China, somebody in India, somebody in Canada, we all have the exact same information because every single block carries all the historical information and at the same time. So I hope that helps answer.
So how is cryptocurrency converted into real money? Yeah.
Into what?
Real money.
Oh, into real money.
Money I can take and, I mean, I know you can use Bitcoin just like you use regular currency, but, you know, how is it
So-
converted? What is the conversion rate?
Okay, so stick a pin in that. We'll come back to that, and we're still answering Nite's question. So what she wants to know is, how is it converted? Okay, we got these coins, but I have bills and I need money, right? So what we're going to talk about is utility in a second. I talked about, let's jump to the next one, thinking about the questions. Remember when I talked about a white paper, you want to look at the problem statement, you want to look at the economics on that white paper, the technical details, the solution. Those are called token economics or tokenomics. And that is the economic model of a cryptocurrency, including how it's distributed, where it gets its supply, and the utility, which is how you can use it, to your question, how you can use it. When you're looking at the tokenomics, and that's what I'm going to use, we're not going to say token economics, the tokenomics of cryptocurrencies or tokens, what you want to analyze is the supply, just in any industry, forget crypto, you want to know supply and demand, right? You want to know, because this is with houses, this is with anything. When the supply is high, a lot of times the price is low. So you want so same thing, you want to know the supply, you want to know how it's distributed, and you want to understand the utility or the use of the token within the ecosystem. And let's go to the next slide. What you want to look for in the distribution and utility. So let's take a step back. What have we talked about? Let's do a review. We talked about the 3M model. You want to start with the macro. We're still in macro, actually. You want to start with the macro. Build your view of what this even is. Now we're moving into the market cap, the economics, the tokenomics. How can I make money from this? How can this be used, to her question? And then the next thing we want to do is go into the momentum. So we started with the white paper to help us build what it is, and now we're talking about the token economics to help us build that the market cap part. So as we're looking at these token economics, there are two things that are important. The distribution, which is, again, how you going to get what you're going to get, and the utility is, how can I use it? Think about and I hate to keep going, but think about our regular money. How am I going to get paid? Okay, I'll get paid every 2 weeks. Okay, well, how far is my dollar going to stretch? Am I in inflation or am I in deflation? That's the utility. What can I do with what I have? So those are the two main things. And if it helps you think of it like regular money, when am I going to get paid? How much am I going to get paid? Like how many tokens? And then what can I do with this? What can I buy with this? How much can this give me? And you can find that information again in the white paper. You can also find it in other official documentation and announcements. This is what people really, really care about. How am I going to get my money? You should not have to dig and search. Pretty much nothing I've said you should have to dig and search for. It should all be, what is the token strategy for, insert crypto here. Like, what is the tokenomics? That it should be a very simple search. If the white paper may seem too technical, you should be able to read it. Like, just look it up and search it, because again, this should be very clear, transparent, fair. You should say, oh, okay, it's not one small group of beginner investors got 99% of it, and then they're gonna release the last 1% to the rest of the public. That's not fair. So you want it to be something that's fair, pretty equitable, and transparent. If it is not, that's a red flag. The utility, you want it to mean something. Just like, I remember back when I was little, we used to go to the penny store. And I remember my cousin hated going because he used to have to carry pennies in his hand, and pennies in your hand, when it's wet, they stink. To this day, he hate pennies. And we used to go, I think that it's not the penny store, it's the dollar store now, right? So this utility, you said what? It's not even the Dollar Tree. I went to the Dollar Tree, it's not $1. They done raised it to $1.25. I said, what? But that's the utility. What am I getting for what I have? This is important, because this is I think I said a couple slides back, it's inflation resistant. One of the things you want to, we are in an inflation time frame, whether you say it's inflation because of this or that, whatever's inflated, we know we're paying more at the grocery store. So what am I getting? This is where the utility comes in. So I don't want you to just sit and try to like remember these things. Think about it naturally. It should make sense to you. It should make sense. They want my money. I want to give them my money. They need to make it easy for me, and I need to understand what they're doing. Okay, well, you want my money. What am I getting for my money? Okay, well, am I going to get some more? When am I going to get some more? Okay, well, if you give them more later, will that mean what I have is worth less? So those same questions we ask these same sorts of questions with the crypto. So again, you find it in the white paper. A lot of times they have a tokenomics section in the project website because this is what people care about. I mean, I'm gonna give you my money. I need to know what I'm getting for, right? So next one. So I had digital currency. So these are remember I mentioned I changed it from cryptocurrency to tokens because these are different types of tokens. So a token, you have a digital currency that's like Bitcoin. It's more of a currency where you kind of buy and sell and spend certain things. You have certain things like a utility token. Ethereum is more of a utility token. You can do things with it. People build apps on Ethereum. People make things with on the Ethereum blockchain. And let's be clear, there's not one blockchain. There are multiple blockchains. Bitcoin has a blockchain. Ethereum has a blockchain. Okay, but again, all it is a block of transactions chained to the next block of transactions. Okay. There's another type of token. This page goes to Nite's question earlier. Security tokens. These represent ownership or stake in a real world asset, often subject to regulatory compliance. So they have it where you can have digital blockchain verified stake in a real world thing. To her question earlier about, well, what's going to happen with real estate? Well, it can just prove that you own it and keep it on the blockchain. That's actually more secure than what we have now when we run those title searches. Is you're just keeping it on the blockchain. Stable coin, you might hear about Tether, right? So they maintain a stable value by pegging it to a reserve of assets, typically something like the US dollar. So to your question about, well, how do I get it? Well, you can turn it to Tether and it'll be a one-to-one exchange. We also have things called NFTs or non-fungible tokens. Non-fungible basically just means unique. It's one of one. And with these NFTs, it's like proof of authenticity or proof of ownership of that unique thing. So think about if you're trying to leave a legacy, right? You have artwork or you have, I say you, I ain't got no sort of artwork or nothing like that I can leave right now. But think about like museums or people that have things that they can pass down. That's like, that's the word, heirlooms, right? When you have those that one thing, how do you determine who owns it and if it's authentic? They have cryptocurrency, it's not really, they have tokens for those as well. So they have digital artwork that has a token of authenticity. And these are just a few of the tokens, but the important part is there are different types of tokens. Because there are different types of tokens, the tokenomics of each are different. And we only have 6 minutes. So I'm gonna pause here and say, do y'all wanna do more cryptocurrency next week? Or do y'all wanna go to gold and precious metals? So we're gonna take a break. Cryptocurrencies. Okay, so we're gonna do cryptocurrencies part 2. I see them in the back, part 2 next week. So we're gonna finish on these next 2 slides, because this is where I'm going. There are different types of tokens. The tokens have different utilities, different use cases, different reasons, different problems they're trying to solve. This is why you need to know what type of token it is. If it's a cryptocurrency, it solves a completely different problem, and you should expect completely different results than an NFT or a non-fungible token, because it's just different things, right? So let's look at Bitcoin versus Ethereum tokenomics. Remember I said money off Ethereum, people make money, people use Bitcoin, right? So it's gray, but in general, if you understand when you're doing your research, you want to see in general, where was this token intended to be in the white paper? Because that will guide you to its utility and and how you can make money from it. So the problem it's trying to solve will lead you to the type of token it is, which will lead you to what is the real world use case and how much you can or cannot get from it. So let's look at Bitcoin. So we're going to do Bitcoin, Ethereum, and then take some questions. So in Bitcoin, remember I said there's two things in tokenomics that you really want to care about, at least at the start, because we're teaching you how to do your research: the distribution and the utility. So the distribution of Bitcoin, there will only ever be 21 million Bitcoin, period. It's not the Fed where they can just print some more money. There will only ever be. This is immutable. This is not going to change. This is why it is inflation resistant. And this is why, as we do, I think there's like 90% already mined, or 90% of the Bitcoin have already been uncovered, to use a naive phrase there. This is why it's so important to know the distribution. Because some people didn't even know there were only 21 million. This affects the value. If there are only 21 million and we own the 20th million, the value, typically you might expect the value to rise over time. And this introduces stability because you know how many there are. So this is why distribution is important. So I mentioned before, mining, they just solve complex math problems to validate the transactions, to add more blocks to the chain. And I also mentioned the limited supply ensures that inflation is prevented by having scarcity. Now, utility. Because it is decentralized and a store of value, remember, this is a digital currency. This is not a utility token. So how do you use it? The Bitcoin is closely tied to its distribution model. As more is released, that's where the value comes from. So when you see that they're going to do a Bitcoin halving, when I say halving, y'all know I'm country, Halving, halving. They cut it in half. So when they half it and they change, that's why there's so much, this goes to that, I said 3M, market cap, momentum. You hear a lot of stuff about Bitcoin when it's time to halve it, because this is where people start talking about the value. And, I think it's going to $500,000. I think each Bitcoin is going to be worth $1 million. This is where this stuff is coming from. It's coming from the supply and the momentum of what people are saying. Now let's look at Ethereum. So we talked about the tokenomics of Bitcoin, and now we're going to talk about the tokenomics of Ethereum. Ethereum is a dual token system. There's ETH, that Ethereum that we hear the most about, and then there's gas. Think about it like the gas in your car, just make it run. That's as simple as it is. It makes it run. ETH is that currency, the ETH that we actually trade like a digital currency. Gas is what's used to pay for the computational services on the network. So remember I mentioned that Ethereum has actual apps on it, and people make smart contracts and it's called smart because it's going to execute. As soon as certain thresholds are hit, it will execute like a computer program. But how do you make it run? With gas. So that's how Ethereum works. That's completely different from Bitcoin, completely different. This is why you need to know the type of token that you're looking at. This, again, goes to the tokenomics. So you'll know how much money you should expect to get, if you're going to get money. Because some of these, you're just getting it so you get, like the NFT. You're not getting a token for money. You're getting digital artwork. People are putting books as NFTs. You can do a concert experience, a concert ticket. That is the one of one. Your seat that day for that concert, that could be an NFT. So this is why the type of token is so important. So you'll know, am I going to get some money from this? Is it going to be worth something later? Think about, like I said before, heirlooms, the Mona Lisa, right? If they sold that 200 years ago versus now, it could be worth something completely different. So as you get NFTs, what you pay now, it might be a higher value later, but again, it all depends on the type of token and the utility. So the utility for Ethereum, as both cryptocurrency and fuel, that's how it has a store of value and allow users to interact with it like a computer, which is kind of what I've said already. So we're at 8 on the dot. Man, I timed that pretty well. We're at 8 on the dot. We've made it through tokenomics. Or remember, I like to view it in a 3M strategy, because I prayed and I said, Lord, in Daniel 1, you said that you gave those kids knowledge and skill in learning and all sorts of wisdom. And then the king found that they were 10 times smarter than all his astrologers, everything he had in his court. They were 10 times. And you know, when I see a number, I go to it because I'm numerical minded. I said, oh, they were 10 times smarter. Okay, Lord, your wisdom should make me get this 10 times faster, at least, because I'm under a better covenant than what they were. So what I think to myself, God, give me a strategy to digest all this. Help me. You said in Proverbs 9:9 that if you teach a just or righteous person, they will learn. I'm just. I'm living by faith. I'm righteous. I have the righteousness of God in Christ. There it is. Give instruction to a wise man, and he will be yet wiser. Teach a just man, and he will increase in learning. I'm going to learn this, and I will increase in learning. Everybody has to start somewhere. So we need to remember. So that's when he gave me the 3M strategy, because it was too much. It was like I was going here, there. He said, just put it in 3 blocks. Start with figuring out what it is, the macro view, where does it fit, what is it trying to do, who's doing it. Then figure out the money. Okay, well, how are you going to make money from this problem you're trying to solve? And then the momentum, because the more people talk about a crypto, the more people invest in it, the more typically the price goes up. And of course, unless it's negative conversation. So you need to know the sentiment. Is that momentum positive or negative? Those are the 3 main things, and I'm just helping us learn how to research into those 3 separate areas to figure out where does this token fall. Any questions? Any more questions? Because those were some good questions. And I know did I answer Nite's question fully about the real estate? Did I answer your question about the utility and how do I get the money and the exchange? Because let me add something else. Think of cryptocurrencies kind of like foreign exchange. USD, anybody go to Mexico, you go to another country, well, what's the exchange rate? It's the same thing with crypto. It's just an exchange rate based off of supply and demand.
So my understanding of the crypto is, it's an investment, right? Because like the Bitcoin and the Ethereum, you understand that there are things that, people created to be like a secure investment of money where, the cash is not secure because it could be, it's subject to inflation, like you said, right? So does that mean you only get money if you sell it or if you trade it? And the bottom line objective is just to secure the money so that it's not subject to inflation, but you don't actually get cash until you sell it. Is that right?
Yes, with a caveat. So people are divided about whether cryptocurrency is a hedge against inflation. Now, at its core, it is. But what they're trying to track is how much is it? Should I put it in cryptocurrency or should I put it in gold? That's basically the question. What you're saying is, okay, let's say I have 1 Bitcoin. How much money do I actually have? Is that when do I have money? It's just like stock. You have money on paper until you sell it. Or trade it. You can take 1 Bitcoin and trade it just like foreign exchange into other currencies that you think might go up or, whatever. So that's the difference between a utility, the Ethereum and the Bitcoin as an example. The Bitcoin, you're not going to use that to make something work. Ethereum, you could use that to turn it into gas to make a app run, and you didn't make any, like, you didn't just make any money off of that, because it's not just a currency, it's a utility token. So that's why it's important to know, what is this? The Bitcoin example, yes, you trade it, and when it goes up, you sell it, you got some money, just like stock. Ethereum, on the other hand, you can do multiple things with it besides just as a store of value, or besides just as a hedge of inflation. And that's just one example, but this is why the different types of tokens can give you different things.
My follow-up question then is, like the one you mentioned, I think it was Dojo Cat, or the mini Dojo coin, whatever the the name was, and they said people made a lot of money because it was like barely cents, and then it grew to like, I don't know, $5 or something overnight, and then people made a lot of money.
We didn't go that high, but yeah.
Right. So how did people make money, you know? Is it just because other people were talking about it?
I'm one of those people, so I can tell you how I made money.
Okay.
My husband told me, hey, Doge, D-O-G. I used to call it dog coin. That tell you who. I don't be knowing. So I had to do my research. He said, hey, you know, everybody's talking about it. This is that momentum part. Everybody's talking about this. Elon Musk is tweeting about it. This is that momentum. And I looked it up, and it was 4 cents. Now, I didn't know how to do no real research, but I knew I had 4 cents. So I said, well, I can probably, you know, put $10 in this and get a little something. And then he said, well, they're saying, who is they? I don't know. This goes to that momentum part. You're reading the blogs. You're seeing what people are saying. They're saying it can go up to $1. So this goes back to that build your investment portfolio. I'm thinking that it's going to be $1 in 3 months. I ain't got 3 months to wait. So I said, okay, my exit strategy is I don't know if it's going to go to $1, but if it go to 50 cents, I'm getting out. And so I bought it in at 5 cents, and when it went to 50 cents, I sold it all. Because I did this was very light research. This was, oh, people are talking about it, let me look to see what they're saying. Elon Musk is tweeting about it, and the price was so low, I knew the common investor would do it just because the price was so low. Whether it had real use or not, it didn't even matter. So I said, okay, most people will think that that's reasonable, so I'm going to put my money in it. I can use whatever. I said 10, it was a little more than that, but you get my point. I went through, and I said, okay. And then as people talked about it, that goes back to that third M, the momentum. The more people talked about it, the more Elon Musk tweeted about it, the higher the price went. And it got to 50 cents, I went out. I don't know if it ever made it to $1. It didn't matter to me because I was out. But I cannot tell you about the Doge white paper. I don't even know what it was supposed to do. I don't know what it's still supposed to do. I don't even know if people are still trading it. I traded it off pure momentum. And it went from 5, and I traded from 5. My husband got in at like 2 cents. I went from 5 cents to 50 cents. And and it seems little. But when you put in $200 at 5 pennies, and you know, it adds up after a while. So, you're welcome.
Hello? You may have answered my question. Bitcoin, you can have it like an investment, and what's the other technique?
I said Ethereum. ETH.
Ethereum is like you can purchase things with it, correct?
You can use it to do stuff. Think of it that
Okay, use
way.
it to do stuff, but can you also use that to also increase? That's just a utility one, so that's just for use only, correct?
No.
Can you use it for
Ethereum.
utility and?
I bought Ethereum when it was like $75, and now I think it's $2,500. Ethereum has gone up to, so that's the benefit of knowing. I think I wrote it's a dual token. You have ETH and the gas, so you can do stuff with it and it's a store of value. So that's the benefit of Ethereum. Now, I'm not trying to push a certain one, but these are the ones that when you look up the top cryptocurrencies, Bitcoin and Ethereum, the first two you're going to see. So I'm trying to help you frame, so when you're doing your research and you say, okay, well, let me look up a white paper, you know, maybe start with those. They're extremely technical, but as you're doing the research, compare what you're looking at to the more popular ones so you can see, okay, this has been here for 10 years now, and this is what this white paper looked like. This is new. Can I compare? Can I learn something? So what I don't want to say is get Bitcoin because it's a store of value and Bitcoin is going to go up. What I'm saying is understand which token is more of a currency, such as Bitcoin, and which tokens are currencies and or you can do things with. It's all in the white paper.
Okay. My other question is, you're saying the blockchain is connected from one blockchain, whatever. Now, is Bitcoin, Ethereum, or whatever, all of that's in the blockchain? Can they, are they in there together, or do they just have to be Bitcoin or other things and the Ethereum's off in another blockchain, or are they in the same blockchain and connect to another blockchain?
So there are multiple blockchains.
Mm-hmm.
So a blockchain is a block and then a chain, then a block and a chain, if it helps you to see it that way. Bitcoin is a blockchain.
Okay.
Ethereum is a blockchain.
Separately.
Separate.
That's what I need to
So
look at.
Solana is a blockchain. However, you can do things on the blockchain with other cryptocurrencies. Ethereum keeps coming up because it is extremely useful and it has proven its use case over the years. You can create a token. Let's say I'm gonna call it HOTL, Hand of the Lord. I'm gonna create a Hand of the Lord token. And what I wanted to do is every time half the church pays their tithes, somebody's gonna donate, somebody's gonna match that. This is a smart contract. The threshold is 50% of the members paid tithes this week. Somebody's gonna match this tithe percent. Once this threshold hits, like a computer program, off we go. You can have that HOTL token on the Ethereum blockchain. You do not have to create your own blockchain every time you're trying to do something. Most often, people create most of these new tokens you'll see on the Ethereum blockchain. Solana's coming up, which is why I brought it. But for the most part, there are separate blockchains. They all have their different pros and cons, which is why I kind of skipped that mining part and I kind of skipped that because it's really blockchain related. They have the different pros and cons, but that's part of the white paper that you read to learn which blockchain it's on, because they have different ways. They call them consensus. If I could talk, I would say consensus mechanisms. They have different ways to make it work. Think about all of us in here. If we got on one accord, we got in one consensus. We're all in consensus. We said this. Like we're all. So in order for all the computers at the exact same time, the earlier question about what if you had an electromagnetic issue, right? And now these computers went off. What are we going to do? Well, every single computer has already reached a consensus. We've already decided that this is what happened at 8:14 p.m. The way for us to decide that differs per blockchain. So the types of consensus and the way we gather consensus changes. This is in the white paper. It is technical. It is technical. When I say technical, that's what I'm trying to say. It is a heavy, hard read and a lot of big words that you may not understand. So it is okay to have to go back, look up the dictionary. Okay, what is this? Okay, let me go back and read it. Oh, okay, what is this? That's what you're going to be doing. Or you can skip the technical part and get the gist of what they're kind of trying to solve and understand the technical as time goes by. That was a lot. Did that? Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
you did. Thank you.
Did you have a? I thought you had a question. Okay. So we're going to have Nite show you how to download all this wonderful knowledge.
Yes, very, very wonderful college. So, for the online or looking at us virtually, you can click the link in the description, but you're going to go to branchoutreach.org/financial. And then on that page, you'll scroll down. You'll see that beautiful picture of Tiffany. And you'll scroll down and you'll click the button that says Download Week 2 Presentation. And you'll have all of the slides that she had today available to you.
For your time, and let me know if you have any questions.
All right, another successful Wednesday. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. Great information broken down simply, as we know this can be overwhelming, but as Tiffany stated, we're going to utilize the Word of God to cast down those thoughts that want to prevent us from moving forward and receiving this information. So join us next Wednesday for part 2 as she continues in this particular vein. Announcements. We're still accepting food donations that can be dropped off to the food bank here during Wednesday service, Sunday services, as well as during the week from 9 to 3 on Tuesday, Thursdays, and Friday. And Zenith Athletic Kickball League, we are still registering for teams. So if you are a woman age 18 and up, we would love to have you play, even if you have no knowledge whatsoever of the game, or if you are experienced. We would love to have you come out and join one of our teams or be of service behind the scenes in one of our areas such as the concessions or field crew, scorekeeping, umpiring. We would love to have you. So if that's you, you can sign up. Even if you're not completely sure, go ahead and sign up. I can give you a call and I can answer any questions that you may have. Amen. You all have a wonderful, wonderful evening.